Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Hora Dhamma Dovo Kunjabihari Gopidana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiraha Vanachari Jai Hora Dhamma Dovo Kunja Bihari Jai Ho Radhamadavo Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Premanandi. There's a lot of echo, echo, echo. Hello, echo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah, that sounds better. A little more volume and we're good. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 12th chapter, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead, text number 16. Atma strapatya surido balamriddha kosham. Atma strapatya surido balamriddha kosham. Antak puram parivahara bhuvascharamya. Antak puram parivihara bhuvascharamya. Bhumandalam jaladime kalamakaleya akalaya. Bhumandalam jaladime kalamakalaya. Kalo pasrishtamiti sa prayayau vishalam. Kalo pasrishtamiti sa prayayau vishalam. Atma striyapatya surido balamriddha kosham. Antak puram parivihara bhuvascharamya. Bhumandalam jaladik mekkalamakalaya. Kalo pasrishtamiti sa prayayau vishalam.
Atmastrapatya sukrudo balam ruddha kosham. Antah puram parivihara bhuvascharamya. Bhumandalam jaladime kalamakalaya. Kalo pasishtamiti saprayayau vishalam. Atmasya patya surido balam riddha kosham.
Atmastriyapatya suhrudo balamridakosham.
Antahpuram parivihara bhavacharam ya.
Antapuram parivihara bhuvascharam ya.
Bhumandalam jaladimekalam akalaya.
Bhumandalam jaladimekalamākalaya.
Kalopasishtamiti saprayayo vishalam.
Kalopasishtamiti
saprayayo vishalam.
Atmastriyapatya suhrudo balamridakosham.
Atmastriyapatya suhrudo balamridakosham.
Antahpuram parivihara bhuvascharam ya.
Antapuram parivihara bhuvascharam ya.
Bhumandalam jaladimekalamākalaya.
Bhumandalam jaladimekalamākalaya.
Kalopasrustamiti saprayayo vishalam.
Kalopasishtamiti saprayayo vishalam.
Atmastriyapatya suhrido balamridakosham.
Atmastriyapatya surido balamridakosham.
Antapuram parivihara bhuvascharamya.
Antarbharam parivihara bhuvascharamya.
Bhumandalam jaladimekalam akalaya.
Bhumandalam jaladimekalamākalaya.
Kalopasristamiti saprayaya visalam.
Kalopasishtamiti saprayayo vishalam. Atma, body. Stri, wives. Apatya, children. Suridaha, friends. Balam, influence. Or army. Ridhakosham, rich treasury. Antakpuram, female residential quarters. Parivara bhuvaha, pleasure grounds. Cha, and. Ramyaha, beautiful. Bhumandalam, the complete earth. Jaladhi, by oceans. Mekalam, bound. Akalaya, considering. Kala, by time. Upasrishtam, created. Iti, thus. Saha, he. Prayayo, went. Vishalam, to Badarikashrama. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus Dhruva Maharaj at the end left his kingdom, which extended all over the earth and was bounded by the great oceans. He considered his body, his wives, his children, his friends, his army, his rich treasury, his very comfortable palaces, and his many enjoyable pleasure grounds to be creations of the illusory energy. Thus, in due course of time, he retired to the forest in the Himalayas, known as Badarikashrama. Purport: in the beginning of his life, when he went to the forest in search of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj realized that all bodily conceptions of pleasure are products of the illusory energy. In the very beginning, of course, he was after the kingdom of his father. And in order to get it, he went to search for the Supreme Lord. But he later realized that everything is the creation of the illusory energy. From the acts of Srila Dhruva Maharaj, we can understand that somehow or other, if one becomes Krishna conscious, it does not matter what his motivation is in the beginning. He will eventually realize the real truth by the grace of the Lord. In the beginning, Dhruva Maharaj was interested in the kingdom of his father. But later he became a great devotee, Mahabhagavat, and had no interest in material enjoyment. The perfection of life can be achieved only by devotees. Even if one completes only a minute percentage of devotional service and then falls down from his immature position, he is better than a person who fully engages in the fruitive activities of this material world. Atmastripatya surido balamriddha kosham antakpuram pravihara bhuvascharamya bhumandalam jaladine me kalamakalaya kalo pasrishnamiti sa prayayao vishalam. Thus Dhruva Maharaj at the end left his kingdom, which extended all over the earth and was bounded by the great oceans. He considered his body, his wives, his children, his friends, his army, his rich treasury, his very comfortable palaces, and his many enjoyable pleasure grounds to be the creations of the illusory energy. Thus, in due course of time, he retired to the forest in the Himalayas, known as Badarikashrama. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamhayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Jayasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadamaham vande Sri Guru Ninataranam Paramananda Maravam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So here, in this section of the Bhagavatam, we hear about Dhruva Maharaj going back home, back to Godhead. We remember Dhruva was very much upset by the insults of his stepmother. And thus, he had a revengeful attitude. He was very ambitious, being a kshatriya. He wanted to attain the kingdom of his father. In fact, he wanted to attain something greater than the kingdom of his forefathers. So his attitude was an attitude of, I'm going to show them. Did you ever have that attitude? I'm going to show them. I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to make my mark in this world. Of course, to some extent, right? According to our capacity. Of course, Dhruva Maharaj, he has got a big capacity because he's a kshatriya, he's a very powerful personality. And for that purpose, he went to the forest to perform austerities. And after a very short time, he had the darshan of Vishnu. And Vishnu asked him, what do you want? And he said, I don't want anything, I only want you. And Vishnu said, Dhruva, remember the palace? Your stepmom? Huh? Remember what you wanted? He said, no, I'm fine, I don't want anything. He said, nope, now you got to be the temple president for 36,000 years. You got to run this. You got to run this gig. And he was stuck, but he served with a very great dedication, and he fulfilled his term of service. And now we're in the situation where his son had been empowered to rule the kingdom, the world, and Dhruva is heading to the forest. And he has an attitude of detachment. Vairagya vidya nicha bhakti yoga shiksharta meka purusha purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradari kripam buddhiriyastvamaham prapadye. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was glorified as that personality who came to teach this process of bhakti, which is Vairagya Vidya. Not just, oh, I'm done with it, I don't like it, this is troublesome, this is pain. But Vairagya Vidya. Renunciation or detachment which is based on knowledge. Because otherwise renunciation is not real renunciation. It is Falgu Vairagya. Falgu means superficial or shallow. Did you ever had the mood, I don't like this, I want to get rid of this, I want to get rid of my situation, want to get rid of the things I have, and you put everything on the curb. And the next day, everyone's back at the mall shopping for more stuff. Everyone wants more. Why? Because the mindset has not changed. The mentality has not changed. So, what is that mentality? Deha patra kalatradishu atma sainyeshu asatsu api tesham pramatanidanam pashanapina pashyati. We're thinking that deha, this body, is giving me a lot of enjoyment. Have you ever thought like that? Anyone? This body is giving me a lot of enjoyment. You ever thought like that? Okay, 3 people are honest. All the others are great yogis. But then, of course, at some point, you kick your toe, you get hit, and you realize maybe this body is a great source of trouble and difficulty. You know that in medicine they study books this thick to find out all the different types of diseases you can get and what can go wrong with the body. It's a big hazard. It's a big hazard. And there is an expiration date. I know this is a family program and we got children here, but sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but this machine has an expiration date. You don't know where it is, so you don't know when it's going to happen. But just like in technology, nowadays they've got what's called planned obsolescence. Have you heard of that? Planned obsolescence? It means that this nice little pad that you're carrying there on your lap has a shelf life. It's got a certain life expectancy. And after that, it will self-destruct. So will your phone. So will anything in this world. It will just crumble. Why? Because it's made of matter. And matter is temporary. It's continuously in flux. It's continuously rearranging itself. So this body that once looked very young and beautiful, at some point, all of a sudden, it starts giving in. It starts giving you more trouble than it gives you pleasure. And I'm sure some of you have already reached that point, so you got a little bit of experience of that. Of course, when you're young, you think, I'm youthful, I'm powerful, I'm beautiful, and I can enjoy forever. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. Not too long ago, right? Yeah. And then you cross that threshold of, there's different thresholds, the threshold of 24. Then after 24, all the teenagers look at you and go like, hey, you're old, you're old, like, you're just old. Then there's 35, then there is 50, there's 65. So when I'm in San Francisco, people tell me I'm too old. But when I'm in Alachua, everyone says, oh, you're just a baby, you're just a kid. So it's always relative to your sense of perception, because everything in this world is relative to the context that you're in. So the body, eventually, sooner than later, will give in and will start giving you trouble. But we think, no, this body is wonderful. This body will protect me. This body will really give me a lot of happiness. Till all of a sudden, you go into negative and you have to reassess your mindset. Then, patya, of course, we think that my significant other, my beautiful wife, or my very strong and powerful husband, they will protect me. And that lasts for about, how long does it last? Honeymoon? A week? 3 months? Maybe you're lucky. You can drag it a little bit. But then after that, reality sets in, and the bills start coming, right? And then it's like, okay, now what? What are we going to do? So then, upatya, relatives, kalatradishu is the significant other, then all the other things that are mentioned here that are compared to fallible fighting soldiers. Did you ever play board games? Either chess or others. You have these little figurines, these little statues, and they look very stiffy. They look very spiffy, very nice, very powerful, but you can tip them over with just one flick of a finger. They fall over. So they can't protect us. Why? Because they can't protect themselves. because we're fallible. We're not. There's kshara and akshara. Krishna is infallible. He is the one who is all-powerful. But we are kshara, we're fallible. So we are bound by the laws of material nature. So here, Dhruva is showing to us how to achieve perfection. And that is what a king does. He is a leader. He is leading by his own example. So he's not just talking nice talk, but he's actually walking the talk. And here he's walking to Badrikashram. How many of you have been to Badrikashram? No? Yeah? You should all go at some point. It's an experience, especially the trip up there. When you look down and you see all the buses that have crashed. But it's a beautiful place. It's amazing. It's in the Himalayas, on the bank of the Ganges. You go up from Haridwar to Rishikesh, and then Devprayag, and then all the way up. And it is where Naranarayan Rishi resides still today. You can go and have darshan of Naranarayan Rishi. And there are hot springs right in front of the temple. Big pond, you can jump in there. And then you can go to the Ganges, which is liquid ice, just coming straight out of the mountain. And you can go back and forth. That's a ritual that people do. Very beautiful place, amazing. Only open in the summer months. And a great pilgrimage place. And it is the place where Dhruva Maharaj and so many devout transcendentalists retire to at the end of their lives. Because that Mahaprasthan, that big walk, there's no coming back. They just stay up there, achieve perfection, and then leave their body. So, the main point here in the purport and in this verse is that Dhruva, he had this realization very young in his life that material life is temporary, spiritual life is eternal. Yet his ambition was to achieve a great position in this world. So he had to fulfill his desires, his ambition. And Krishna fulfilled it. Krishna fulfilled his ambition. So whatever our desires are, like right now, we're here in Simhachalam. And if we do a survey, why are you here? Why are you here? You would hear a whole wide range of reasons, right? Why we're here. And they're all valid, and they're all good reasons, good enough to be here. Unfortunately, they're not good enough to stay here. So whatever brought us to bhakti is fine, it's valid, it worked, we are here. But it's not enough to keep us here. If we want to stay in Krishna consciousness, and it's not a geographical location, it's a state of consciousness, then we have to actually come to this platform of Vairagya Vidya Nicha Bhakti Yoga, Shikshartameka Purusha Purana. We have to take shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that means taking shelter of the Sankirtan movement. We have to find service. Because otherwise, the mind will tell us, well, many places to go, many things to do. Well, what should I do there? It's always the same thing, right? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Do you guys have any other song? Do people ever ask you? Do you ever you have another song? Do you have something else to sing or to do? And you say
comments, Prabhu, like that. They almost sing all the time Hare Krishna for 4 hours, 5 hours, like that. So
yeah.
I saw once in one comment somewhere.
Exactly, and that's the perfection. Kirtaniya Sudahari. You keep chanting forever. What is the goal of chanting? Jai Sri Shri Paranishingadeva Ki Jai. The goal of chanting is more chanting. Haribol. Because if you have the most relishable, the most sweet, the most enchanting holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you don't want to stop chanting. You want to incessantly chant. One time, Lord Chaitanya, while going to the bathroom, he was holding his tongue. And there was a small boy, and Gopal. And Gopal asked Mahaprabhu, why are you holding your tongue? And he said, because I'm going to the bathroom and it's not a clean place. And I don't want to chant, but I'm incessantly chanting, but I don't want to chant the holy name in that filthy place. And the boy Gopal said, but aren't we supposed to chant all the time in all places? And any place will be purified by the holy name. And what if we leave our body, then we should be chanting. So Mahaprabhu said, very good boy. Very good instruction. And so he let go of his tongue and he was chanting and he said, from now on, your name is not Gopal. From now on, your name is Gopal Guru. So he became Gopal Guru Goswami. So we should aspire to always chant the holy names of the Lord. Yet, we're not there yet. Speaking for myself. One time, devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, how long did it take you to perfect your japa? Now we're all chanting japa, right? Are you chanting japa? A little bit? Sometimes? Everyone is chanting because that's what devotees do, inevitably. Yet, we may ask ourselves, well, how good is my chanting? How attentive is my chanting? How much am I avoiding the 10 offenses? How much am I actually focused and there, present with Krishna's holy name? So one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, how long did it take you to perfect your japa? And Srila Prabhupada could have said, me and Krishna, we're tight, like we were cowboys, we were throwing lunch bags around, playing games. He could have said, my dad did this and his dad did that, so we come from a great family, great tradition, great lineage. He could have said, I've done this forever. And all of these answers would have been right. But Srila Prabhupada gave a different answer. What was his answer? He said, it took me 40 years, 40, to perfect my japa. Now, this year's my 40th. I don't think it's enough. But the chanting has to go on continuously. And the point here is that whatever our initial motivation, no matter, it's good enough to come to Krishna. There's Chaturvidha bhajante mam janaksu kritin arjuna arto artharti jigyasu gyanischa bharatar shaba. There are 4 types of pious people. And we're very familiar with the first 2. What are they? Artha. Artha. Gimme, right? Gimme. I need. Amilagbe. I want. Gimme. We're looking for wealth. We're looking for riches. And who is the example of that? Dhruva Maharaj. He's the example of that. He didn't just want a little bit of money. He wanted a kingdom bigger than his father and his ancestors. He wanted it all. Certainly, great ambition. Artati, suffering condition. We're certainly in suffering. So we're approaching the Lord in our distress. Then there's jigyasu, a person who's curious. Okay, what's going on here? I'm a little perplexed. Why are people dying? And why are people getting sick? And why are things not working my way? People get a little thoughtful. And then they approach God or they come to spiritual life. And then there is jigyasu, the one who is actually truly inquisitive, who is going to the bottom of it and wants to have real knowledge about what is what. Atato brahma jigyasa. Inquiring about the true nature of the self and the Supreme Self. So, whatever our initial ambition and motivation was, fair enough. We've approached the Lord. That is wonderful. That is perfect. Now, in order to progress, we are to realize our initial motivation and purify it. Now, how do we purify it? Do you know that you can't change your nature, but you can only purify it? You can engage in Krishna's service. You can't change your nature. You got a certain nature. We all have a certain nature that we have, a certain conditional nature that we have received according to our past activities. And we can't change that in this life. But we can engage it in Krishna's service, and that will purify it. Vishyavi nivartante niraharasya dehina rasovarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. As we heard yesterday, Maharaj's beautiful class. And here, at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that even if one only completes a minute percentage of devotional service and then falls down from that immature position, is better than a person who engages in fruitive activities in this world. And even a little bit of advancement will save you from the greatest danger. What's that verse in the Bhagavad Gita?
Neha vikramanasati pratya
Atyavayana vidyate
yate
swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. The greatest fear. What is the greatest fear? No breakfast? Or that breakfast is late? Falling down to a lower life form. Yes. Taking animal birth where you can't remember Krishna unless you're very fortunate, like Maharaj Bharat. Krishna kept his memory alive and he still pursued bhakti even while he had the body of a deer. So we should never think, oh, why am I here doing this? I'm not really sure. Where is this going? I'm not sure I can do this. I'm not sure I can really attain perfection. Anything you do in bhakti, every step you take, it's for your eternal benefit. And you take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes 10 steps towards you. And you know how big Krishna's steps are? Remember Vamana Dev? 3 steps, boom, you know? With the first 2, he already took the whole universe. So Krishna is very kind, and his devotees are even kinder. So we have this great opportunity to engage in bhakti. Yet sometimes our previous conditioning catches up with us. Have you noticed how homework sometimes catches up with you? You didn't do your homework, and then you sit there in class thinking you're cool, you know, you're all good, till the teacher walks in the room and he hands out blank sheets of paper. And he says, okay, exam, you know. What? We had homework? We had a test today? Oh, really? Wow. Did this ever happen to you? Or is it just me? That's why I'm not going back to school. That's why I'm not coming back, because I'm done with those moments, you know. I don't want to see those moments anymore. So homework catches up with us. What's our homework? We have to recognize that maybe my mindset, my mentality was not entirely pure, and I have some way to go. Just like yesterday. Yesterday, somehow, by Krishna's inconceivable grace, His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Maharaj invited me to take breakfast with him. And I happily conceded, and then we waited for breakfast. And then we waited, and we waited, and we waited. And I was a little bit in anxiety because I had a 5-hour seminar plus a 1-hour Zoom class during lunch break. And so then the discussion was, should we take it outside? No, there's bees or wasps. Or should we take it inside? And it was going back and forth, and people were coming and going, and people running around. It was getting late. And finally, they made the decision, no, we're going to take breakfast in here. And we sat down in the room, we're going to Tayar, and we talked, and it was very wonderful, because Maharaj is wonderful sadhu and very forthcoming, always being very kind and very magnanimous to myself and to everyone. And so, after a good while, his plate came, and then we talked more, and after what seemed like eternity, nothing seemed to happen. So my mind was going like, what's happening? What's going on here? Get me someone here. But then I realized that actually this was perfect. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi, Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. What is Lava Matra? Moment? Fraction. How big fraction? How much? What a fraction? What kind of a fraction? Lava matra. Blink of an eye. 11th of a second. Pretty short moment, right? That can already change your trajectory in life. And here I was getting plenty of lava matras. And my mind was thinking, breakfast, breakfast, breakfast. I need to go. I have things to do. Yet my intelligence said, no, it's perfect. Everything is fine. Just cool down, relax. So these different natures, these different energies, these different forces were at play, and I was just observing it and seeing how my conditioned nature and my constitutional nature were at odds. There was tension there. There was tension there. And eventually, I got my khichdi and bread by the grace of the devotees. And everything went on its way. So the point here is that we can't change our nature, but we can engage it in Krishna service. And by chanting Hare Krishna and studying the Bhagavatam, we become aware. We become aware, painfully aware of our nature, of our shortcomings. And at the same time, Krishna gives us enough taste and enough faith that we conclude, no, this works. This process works. I like the association of devotees. I want to stay with devotees. I want to become a devotee. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I want to do this. And that is a very important realization. And no one can do that, and no one can take that decision for you. It doesn't matter whether you're born in Krishna consciousness or your ancestors have been Krishna conscious to one degree or the other. But that is a decision that every jiva has to take, that I'm going to pursue Krishna consciousness. I want to become a devotee, and I want to serve Krishna and be Krishna conscious. So we're in the right place. Now, Dhruva Maharaj here is showing us by his example. Now, what should we do? Should those of us who are older than 50 book their ticket to one way to Badarikashram? Not that likely and not that practical. It is said that we have to understand our nature. Dhruva was a kshatriya, so for kshatriyas, this is advised. But for others, they will not have the strength, the wherewithal to pursue such kind of a journey. So, out of the 4 ashramas, we know that Brahmins, they generally do brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. The kshatriyas, they go till vanaprastha. The vaishyas, they go till grihastha. And for the shudras, there's just grihastha, household life. So we have to see what is our nature and how we can engage that nature in Krishna service. And not try to imitate others and adopt their lifestyle and their way of living, and then be surprised that it doesn't really work out that great. So it's wonderful to be here in Simhachalam and to see how so many young families and also young enthusiastic brahmacharis are cooperating together and creating a very attractive, a very vibrant atmosphere where people feel inspired to come and visit and even to stay and experience Krishna consciousness. And the only objective of this is people should want to come back. People should have the feeling, this was nice. I want to have the same type of experience again. Maybe I can do this for a little while longer. And in this way, they will experiment and they will gradually approach the stage where they will start practicing Krishna consciousness wherever they may live and be in Krishna consciousness. That is the goal, the sum and substance of the Krishna consciousness movement. So thank you all for keeping this oasis open and vibrant and expanding it across the borders into different areas. There's a lot of people, and there is no lack of opportunity for sharing Krishna consciousness. We had a Harinam in Munich on Saturday, and it was very well received. People were mesmerized. They were truly joyous to see the devotees chanting and dancing. We were going through the, what's it called? English Garden? English Garden, yeah. And it was quite a zoo, you know. It was like Miami South Beach. It was pretty crazy. But people were happy to see the devotees chanting and dancing. They were happy because they thought like, these guys are not doing what we're doing, but they're looking funny, but they're much more happy than we are. And so what are they doing? What do they have that's giving them this type of experience? So people get a little curious. They get a little curious. And that's good. That's a good start. It's a good starting point. And then from there, some devotee can venture and give them a book, give them an invitation and invite them. I was in Bratislava, Slovakia in the evening and went to a supermarket. Didn't find anything that was worthwhile buying, but we tried. And as we walked past the cash register, there was a security guard, elderly man, all in black, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you a Hindu monk?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Me too." And I said, "Really?" And I looked at him and he said, "Yes, I got 5 books from a monk and I read them." So I asked him, "What is the mantra? What's the password?" And he said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I thought, okay, fair enough, fine, you know. Doesn't matter what dress you have, you know, it's your consciousness, right? So he was chanting, so he was in Krishna consciousness, even though he was working the night shift at a supermarket. And in a similar way, if we're Krishna conscious, we will attract. I met so many devotees in Munich, so many people who just looked at me like, "Hey, where have you been?" And I just walked up to them. You know, there was one guy, big guy, with his kids, and I just walked up to him and gave him a big hug, and we just, you know, talked very friendly, and he took books. And at some point, you know, the family members go like, "Do you know this guy? You know, do you know who this is?" And he's like, "Nope, but it's okay, it's fine, you know, like, he my bro, you know, like, we're good." So that's the potency of the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, every now and then there is somebody who starts screaming and shouting and yelling, you know, like, "You guys should be illegal, you know, get out of here." Where were we? I've been on tour with my friend Rupa Vilas Prabhu. In one city, there was a person, white, grown-up German guy, looked all right, sat down in the middle of the walking street, put his jacket or something there, and had a little cup there, and was begging. He was asking people for money. And as I walked by, I just, you know, smiled at him and tried to be nice. And he started lashing out like, "You guys are illegal, you're not supposed to be here, this is forbidden." And he went on and on and on and on. And first I tried to explain a few things to him, but then I realized, like, this is great, this is wonderful. Like, there are still people like that who recognize the potency of the Sankirtan movement. So don't get upset if somebody challenges or questions or ridicules. It means that you're actually doing something. If you're doing something, people will complain. If you're not doing anything, no one's going to complain, right? Because you're not doing anything. So get used to the idea that as you get busier for Krishna, some people, they might object. But such is life. Such is life. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvai gunai tatra samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahad gunat manoratena satidavato bahi. If you practice Krishna consciousness, this process of bhakti, then all the good qualities of the demigods will gradually develop in you. It's just a matter of time, because they're there in a seed-like state. They're there in an initial stage. And through your practice, these qualities will more and more manifest. Yet, a person may have, materially speaking, all the qualifications, but that's all a bunch of zeros. Without a one in front, without Krishna in front, it's still a bunch of zeros. And And ultimately, they are just running on the chariot of the mind. Basically, they're not going anywhere. They're making a lot of noise, but they're not going anywhere. I had a guy in a big Audi from Ingolstadt, you know, the capital of the great empire, and I just caught him while he was in traffic and gave him a little book. He was in his cabriolet, looking all spiffy, all happy, you know, Saturday, have a little drive in Munich. And so he was attracted. He saw the Harinam. We had a little moment, and then he drove around the corner where he could stop, and he gave his donation. And then he asked us, what are you guys doing here? And I said that I call this play group for techies, you know. We have all these very bright, very brilliant people, but they're, you know, like masters and PhD level, but socially a little awkward sometimes. So what we do is we bring them all together and we do play group, you know, like this festival, and we sing and dance and chant the holy names. And in this way, we actually, we learn selfless love through cooperation. And he said, wow, that's amazing. I think I'm a little socially awkward. That's what he said, you know. That was his comment. Like, I think that's me. I'm in that group. I'm in that category. In other words, I need some of this, you know. I said, okay, you get started. You take this, you know, you read this, and then you take it from there. So people who are a little bit inquisitive or a little bit sincere, they will appreciate Krishna consciousness. And the process is joyfully performed. Susukam kartum avyayam. What is that verse? The susukam kartum.
Rajavidya rajaguhyam pavitram yidamuttamam
Pratyakshavagam dharmyam susukam kartum avyayam. Which is Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, text number 2. Correct? Yes. Okay. So, are you joyful? Monday morning? Another week? Another day? Huh? It's not something you can fake, you know. It's something we have to experience. Now, it might not be smashing ecstasy that you're bouncing off the walls, but there should be some realization. His Grace Jananivas Prabhu told us when he was teaching us Bhaktivedanta course, Bhagavatam in Mayapur, that our entire objective of preaching and sharing Krishna consciousness is somehow to awaken that feeling in the heart of the living entity that let me do something for Krishna. It's nice. I like to do this. One time my mom gave me a big donation before I went to India. When I came back, she gave me the same amount again. I said, Mom, you don't have to do that, you know. You don't have all that money, and why? She said, I felt so good the first time when I gave it, I wanted to have the same feeling again. So that's why, you know. Like sometimes you meet people, they just keep giving, right? You have that experience? Because they just feel like, yeah, this is the right thing to do. This is giving me joy, this is giving me happiness. So, these are some reflections on today's verse. Maybe we have comments or questions or reflections from our audience.
Sorry, I have a question. Sometimes while doing service, I'll be thinking about my children. Whether, I'll give it to my elder daughter sometimes. And she says, Mama, you are so attached. Even while doing service, you are thinking about children. This will bind you, like that she'll tell me. Is that a great attachment?
Is that what?
Is that I don't know whether that is good or not.
No, definitely, absolutely it's good. If moms are not thinking of their children, then something is wrong. You have to. Otherwise you can't be a mom. So, she's well? She's okay? Or she's got a little sniffle?
Okay. Yeah. She wants my attention.
Yes,
Hare
absolutely.
Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So yes, we need mothers who, you know, like you can be 50, 60 years old and your mom will say, what did you eat today? And do you have warm socks? And you say like, Mom, I got 3 grown-up children, you know, like, I'm okay, believe me, I'm fine. I can take care of myself. But that's a mother. Huh? I called my mom on Mother's Day and thanked her and congratulated her, and we had a nice chat, and then I told her, yeah, sorry for all the trouble I gave you, you know, like... and then there was that silence, you know, a little too long. And then she said, oh, it wasn't that bad. And by the way she said it, I realized, like, it was worse. It's like, yeah, but that's the nature. That's the nature of a mother. And we all have our nature, and we can't change that. In fact, if mothers don't want to be mothers and fathers don't want to be fathers, and you know, then everything is wrong. Everything just doesn't make sense anymore. If you call this a chair and you call this a microphone, then you know we got a problem. Like, things don't work so well. So, of course we know this is conditioned nature, it's not constitutional, but we can engage it in Krishna service, and then it works. Huh? Other reflections? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru. Thank you very much for your inspiring class. Also, your honesty of your conflict when you took prasadam, that you had this encounter. Yeah,
it's an ongoing thing, not just about prasadam. You know, when you're impatient, when you're vata, then any moment of delay is yugaitam nimeshena jakshusha prashaya. It's yeah.
Yeah, my question is how, because you're also a long time in the Hare Krishna movement, so how do you reflect on your own progress of change when you saw how you were before, how to go through all these things, how to still keep on going, if you still see there are some anarthas remaining, how you work with that, and so you can give also the new devotees some outlook, and you see there is some light at the end of the tunnel. It's not always full of problems, so how to go through all that, and yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we're subjective, we're not objective. It's natural. So we need a little help from our friends. So it's important to have friends in Krishna consciousness who can tell you, you know, like, hey, I really like you, you know, like, I like you more now than you were before. And then you go like, oh, really? You know, what was wrong back then? And they will tell you because they're your friends, right? So, and of course they will be kind because they're devotees and they're your friends. At the same time, we need to hear this. Otherwise, we can't really progress rapidly. It's good to take inventory on a regular basis. It says at least on Ekadasi, twice a month, we should introspect and actively search out, okay, where there is room for improvement. What am I struggling with? How can I do better? You can also take guidance from senior devotees and ask them. And some will tell you, some probably won't. Depends on their nature. Some are a little more direct and forthcoming, and others are like, yeah, you're doing perfect, everything's great, and Haribol. So, but Krishna is also there in our heart, and he's guiding us, and he is giving us knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness, depending on our attitude. So sometimes we forget everything, and at other times we get glimpses of reality. And sometimes it's crystal clear. Yet I still can't change the fact who I am and in which situation I'm in. So it is an instantaneous process, but it is also a gradual process. It's explained like if you push a needle through a stack of lotus leaves, it will go gradually through one leaf, the other leaf, the other leaf. At the same time, it's in an instant, in one moment, the needle goes through. So it takes some time. How much time? That depends on us. It depends how obstinate we are. You know, obstinate, dog stubborn, how much we are resisting change. Because we're attached to our control and to our comfort zone. And we can see that that conditioning is strong, it's tough. At the same time, the process is much more powerful. There's something called, sonification, that you can purify something by sound. Did you know that? There's sound waves, like they're doing cleaning objects by sound. So you may think, yeah, I'm chanting, big deal, so what, what's he gonna do? But yeah, no, big deal, yes, big deal. But then we also have to ensure that we're not holding on and reinforcing our conditioning and our anarthas, our attachments, and continuously trying to safeguard them. So we have to train our intelligence, fortify our intelligence by studying Prabhupada's books. Otherwise, we will think that my anartha is the bhakti lata, and we'll think, hey, I'm going in the garden. I'm really watering this thing, and it's looking great. It's luxurious, but sorry, it wasn't that one. It's that little one there on the side. That's actually your bhakti lata. So it takes. We can't avoid fortifying our intelligence by studying Prabhupada's books. And that's ongoing. It's not like, I read, back when I was young, or I read last year, because we tend to forget. We're conditioned souls. I don't want to insult anybody, but, we can become a little bewildered at times. Just like Parikshit. He was a great king, yet somehow he had a moment where his lower nature, his kshatriya nature came out, and he put that dead snake around that rishi, Samika. And he got cursed to die within 7 days. Okay, we got the Bhagavatam, he went back to Godhead, Haribol. But it still shows that don't think I'm over it just because I'm wearing, some kind of cloth, or I'm in some type of place. It's a process. And it works. Krishna is kind. The devotees are even kinder. And however long it takes, we know it's only a very, very short in comparison to eternity. Like Dhruva is king for 36,000 years. Okay, this is Satya Yuga, so 100,000 years. But in very short time, we see rapid progress. It's hard to see progress in yourself. Of course, sometimes you look at pictures or see things that you did or a long time ago, and you look at it and you go like, this is a different life, like this is a different, right? So it's good to gain perspective, and there's different ways how to do that. But the acharyas also say, when you introspect, don't go too deep, because you may get discouraged. So don't go to the point where you get discouraged and you think like, oh no, I can't do this, and this is taking way too long and it's way too painful. So it's good to take a close look periodically, not like constantly, but periodically, but not to the extent that you could get discouraged, because that's counterproductive. And also when we give feedback, it should always be in a way of encouragement, that we show our appreciation, then we also show maybe some room for improvement. If you're in the position of teacher or authority or parent, it's part of the job. And then at the end, again, you give appreciation so that the person actually feels enlivened and not like, whoa, Otherwise, it's like operation successful, patient is dead. Preaching strongly in the name of Srila Prabhupada. I told them everything. And what was the result of that? Well, they decided that they want to have nothing to do with the Hare Krishna movement for the rest of existence. So we have to be careful. We have to know what is this person's capacity. And that includes ourselves, because we're sentient beings and we have emotions. As you can see here, Dhruva, he ran into difficulty because his emotions took the upper hand. And it happened a few times in the course of his career, which is all documented in the Bhagavatam for our edification, for our so we can learn by these examples. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to hear the story of Dhruva and Prahlad from Gadadhar Pandit, who was chanting all these beautiful shlokas in 4 different tunes. And when the story was over, Mahaprabhu said, tell it again, I want to hear it again. For 100 times, he heard the story of Dhruva and Prahlad. And we think, oh no, another Bhagavatam class. Oh no, you are not this body. Oh no, I don't want to hear this again. Any news? Is there any news? And we get back on our phone and start scrolling through the galaxy. But there is no news in the desert of the material world. The only news that there are is Krishna is very kind, and his devotees are even more kind. Just like Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, he's such a kind and tolerant and humble Vaishnava. So even though I have presented several scenarios and problems and topics, and he always had a very sober, a very unbiased, and a very balanced approach to all these issues. And even yesterday, I was tempted because he had 2 bowls of fruit and he had 2 bowls of khichdi. I said, why don't we just split this thing? And if something more comes, then we split that, you know? That's me, you know? Expedient, right? And I managed to get 1 bowl of fruit. And then he said, you know, actually this is my diet. I can't eat any of the other stuff. So I realized that, oops, you know, I overstepped the boundary. But he was very, very friendly and not at all fazed the least, you know. So I could say, hey, I got my bowl of fruit. But then I realized that on the wrong thing. But what to do? Krishna is very kind, and his devotees are even kinder. So thank you for tolerating us and putting up with, yes, Akila, now comes the wisdom of the sage.
You mentioned in the class that we are becoming happy in Krishna consciousness, and it reminds me of Kadamba Kanu Maharaj. He said, preaching means to show people how happy we are. But what do you do? How do you influence people? How do you inspire people if you're not really happy? If you drag along.
If you drag along, well, at least you're dragging along, you know? You're with it. You're here. And so that is a great success. And sometimes it's required that we go out there and we face the music. And people look at us and they say, like, hey, what happened to you? You know, like, who died, you know? Like sometimes I go out with the Harinam and people ask me, are you with those guys? And I say, those guys? I don't know those guys. You know, those guys got nothing to do with me. Because if it's a bunch of sad, sorry faces who are just like in emo or depressive mode, then I'm not with those people, because, you know, you see, okay, this works, all right? You look at the book, this is happiness, and I'm happy doing this. They don't look happy, their problem. So it's good to face that music, and then we don't have to be on a topmost level or on a very exalted level. Sometimes people, even though we may be in a position of distress for whatever reason, because we're struggling with the mind and the senses and our own lives and whatever is going on, but then you go up to people and you show them the book and they go like, hey, wow, I've been looking for this, and you go like, hey, come on, cool down, you know, like, relax, you know. It's not that great, look at me, like, you know. How can you be so happy? It's like illegal, you know. Like this guy didn't get up, didn't chant his rounds, didn't go to Mangalarti, you know, not following any regs, and is totally in bliss, completely, you know, and here I am, you know, trying to be a good boy, and I'm feeling not so great. Why is Krishna doing this to me? Because it's showing that you can't fake it. Huh? You can't fake it. But of course, it's better to act enthusiastic than not, because eventually you will actually become enthusiastic. So just by the association of enthusiastic devotees, they will pick us up and they will drag us along. But it's more enjoyable if we actually chant and dance along, because if they drag you along, then it's not such a great ride, you know, it's not such a wonderful experience. So at least we should be compliant. We should understand this is for my benefit. Otherwise, at some point when we feel like, why are they telling me all this stuff, and just agitates my mind and telling me what to do and what not to do, then eventually we just find our own situation and kind of move to the periphery like that. But thanks for sticking it out and putting up with all of us youngsters being the sage. And keeping it real, being honest about the teachers that are the most memorable and the most impactful in my life are the teachers who were honest about their own journey, about their own struggles. Like here, Dhruva, like Bilvamangal Thakur, like Prabhupada. Yeah, we know it. Eternal associate of Krishna, Shaktiveshwar Avatar, fully empowered, eternally liberated soul. But if you look at Prabhupada's life, crying alone in the wilderness, struggling in business, struggling in family life, struggling with the institution, struggling with his godbrothers. That resonates with me. I can't relate to perfection because I'm not perfect. I can appreciate perfection. I aspire perfection. But I worship the Prabhupada who struggled because that's my Acharya. That's the person who I can resonate and emulate. So, but again, it's individual. That's me. Now, if somebody needs to have the perfect Acharya and everything is perfect, and, you know, like I've heard so many times, people like, you tell them the Goswamis were married and had families and wives and children and you know, big real estate, they were ministers, and they're like, what? No, they're renunciates, you know. It's because they didn't know that they went through stuff in life. They had changed their names, they had changed their customs, their lifestyle. So, of course, they're eternally liberated souls, but Krishna is teaching through his devotees that it's not an external situation. We can't judge by externals. All right, 9 o'clock. You're liberated. I mean, you were already liberated before, but now you're even more liberated. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Pramanandi, Hari Hari Bo. So see you in Harinam in 1 hour, 10 o'clock sharp. We're heading out.
Thanks, Navina Nirada Prabhu. Okay.